If you ever felt like there might be more, you are in the right place. Welcome to Spiritual Explorations. Together, we'll explore spirituality with curiosity, openness, and a willingness to discover what resonates with you. There was a time when I would have rolled my eyes at most of the things I talk about today. And honestly, if you had told me 20 years ago, I would be talking about intuition, energy, Reiki, and spiritual exploration out loud and online for all the world to hear, I most certainly would have laughed at you and I would have called bullshit. Because the truth is, I've always been a skeptic. I'm the person who wants to know why. How? Show me the evidence. Show me the research. Let me think about it, question it, and then let me decide what I believe. And that's why it's funny that my spiritual journey began where it did. I remember as a teen watching the Montel Williams show. Now, I loved that show and I loved Montel. And one of the guests who appeared regularly was Sylvia Browne, the psychic. Now, whether you agree with her or not really isn't the point of my story. My point is, she gave me something that led me on a journey to exploring and understanding spirituality in a way that had never been offered to me before. You see, she talked openly about her beliefs. She shared what she believed to be true about spirituality, intention, intuition, soul, the world beyond what we can see. But what I loved was that she never seemed to present her beliefs as something that everyone had to accept. Her approach was more like, this is what I believe. This is why I believe it. This is what I've experienced. This is what I've researched, because she was a skeptic as well. And then she left space for people to decide for themselves. That was so powerful for me. Because up until that point, most of my exposure to spirituality had been through church or Sunday school. And while those experiences had value, the message was often, this is what you should believe. I was being given answers. I wasn't being invited to explore. I wasn't being invited to question, and I would get in trouble for questioning because I was that kid. And I wasn't being invited to decide for myself what felt true. And that, more than anything, was the gift that Sylvia gave me. She gave me permission to become curious, permission to explore, permission to ask questions, permission to decide for myself what spirituality meant to me. I remember one of the first times I saw her on television. Now, again, I don't remember exactly what she said. I don't remember the details, but I remember how I felt. And she said something, and I had a visceral reaction in my body. One of those moments where something resonates so deeply that every part of you says, yes, that's true. And not because someone convinced you, and not because you can prove it, and not because you've researched it, but you just hear it and you just know. Now, I'm not asking anyone else to believe what she said, and I am not here to debate whether she was right or wrong. I'm simply sharing my experience because we've all had moments like that. In fact, I've had them outside of spirituality too. I remember attending a wellness event years later and listening to a chiropractor speak. And he said that he believed the body was designed to heal itself, and that much of our work is simply removing the things that interfere with the process. And once again, I had one of those moments. Not because I understood all the science, not because I agreed with everything he said, but because something inside of me immediately responded. It felt true that the body was designed to naturally heal itself. And those moments have been the moments that have shaped my life. Not because they gave me answers, but because they gave me questions worth exploring. Now, years later, I started reading Sylvia's books. And at the time, I was a young mom. I was struggling with PTSD, ridiculously symptoms. I was navigating mental health challenges. I was trying to understand myself, my experiences, and why life had unfolded the way it had. I was searching for meaning, searching for understanding, searching for answers to questions I couldn't yet put into words. And while the books didn't give me all the answers, they gave me permission to keep asking questions. And that curiosity eventually led me to explore spirituality, healing, intuition, Reiki, personal growth, recovery, and ultimately learning how to come home to myself again. Looking back, I don't think my spiritual journey began with belief. I think it began with permission. Permission to be curious, permission to explore, permission to decide for myself what felt true. And honestly, that's still how I approach spirituality today. Not from certainty, not from having all the answers, but from curiosity. Because I believe spirituality is deeply personal. And I don't think anyone else can tell you exactly what your path should look like. You have to explore it for yourself. And sometimes that's where coming home to yourself begins.